And then I'm going to start the live recording, and I'm going to go check and make sure the volume's not
Totally.
scuffed completely.
All right, we'll start anyway.
And then I will...
We'll just dive in.
I'm just going to get focus back over to this window.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, awesome. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our Edge kickoff stream. Now that we've figured it out, I'm here with Sejemba, who worked on the project Value. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Sejemba. I'm a first-year game dev major. I made this game for the 2023 GitHub Game Jam. It got, I want to say 17th overall and second place in innovation. I almost passed out when I saw that, so there you go. Yeah, and I've convinced Aaron here to play it. So that's going to be fun.
I'm excited. I was literally going, how do I start the game? And ever since you said it was a puzzle game, I've already screwed up because the instructions are on the screen, and I still failed that. So we're just going to roll with it. Is that all right?
Yeah.
And while I dive in, if you'd love to give me an intro, I mean, you did a little bit, but one of the first questions I like to ask is what inspired your project?
So, the best inspiration there is really, Pinterest. The theme for the GitHub Jam was, scale. And I've done a few game jams before, and as my biggest, I think a really big deal with game jams is picking the right idea, because you don't have time halfway through the jam to change your idea. So it's better to spend maybe 5% of the jam's overall runtime and actually
this is so cool. Sorry, I just got excited. I figured it out. I was like, wait. Okay, sorry, keep going.
You're good.
So cool.
So it's better, in my opinion, to spend a good amount of time of the jam's runtime actually figuring out what your idea is than to just take the first idea you have and go. So scale was a tough one. I didn't know what to do, but I looked on Pinterest and I just looked up the word scale, and it showed me a bunch of weighing scales and stuff like that. But then I saw artists have to do value scales. So you'll do I probably could still find the picture on Pinterest, but it's like a rectangle and it's cut into a bunch of chunks, and it's one of them's cross hatching so it gets darker, one of them's just regular shading. So from there I had the idea for the game. Now it was supposed to be more complicated so far. Aaron here, who's doing fantastic by the way, only has 2 of the colors unlocked. There's 2 more you'll get to see.
Yeah, if I figure it out.
Originally the idea was to have the colors intersect with each other. So you could mix let's say you mix the magenta and with the blue or the yellow that's coming later on, you could make a red, and then there's a red obstacle you'd have to get past.
Very cool. I feel like I'm stuck. Let me think. Do I want this black? Is there any way to get rid of this black box? I don't know if I want it still.
That's you.
No, sorry, the rectangle underneath me.
No, you. Okay, so zoom in.
Okay, Z. No. Oh, okay. Okay, thanks.
That's why
Oh, sweet, thank you.
play testing is important. As a policy for game jams, I'm realizing every game I do, I realize I just needed that much more play testing. So now for game jams, I try to get the game itself done in half the time, and then spend the second half doing play testing.
Tiny.
Do you have any input? Ben Snyder,
I'm enjoying this.
one of my professors, is here behind the camera.
This is so fun. I mean,
I'm just enjoying watching what's going on.
watching me be in pain. Hey, I figured out the first level pretty well, if I do say so myself. Do I have to collect a tower from somewhere else?
So keep going, try to just keep moving to the right.
Keep moving to the right. Okay, sorry. I see. Yeah, I keep getting excited and going back to stuff. Okay.
This level did have a little bit of, people did struggle with the non-linearity of it, because you have to go, and then you come back.
Right.
So that's why I put that was a little bit of a haphazard thing of just saying, hey, keep going.
Well, you answered one of my earlier questions, but if there's any other challenges that you had to overcome while making this that you wanted to speak to?
Okay, so if you notice, the all of the things in the game aren't solid colors. They're these dots. Now, the dots are courtesy of my good friend Nat Martin, who's my sweet mate. He has like on Procreate, you can just kind of like color. You can have like a brush that does the dots in like that. Snyder's giving hints here.
I was like, where did that panel go? So sorry.
So the biggest issue is if you see, have you ever played oh come on, Little Big Planet?
Yep.
You know how in Little Big Planet, like the backgrounds and stuff, things would move, but the background itself would be static.
Yep.
So if you look at pretty much everything that isn't the actual scales that you're sliding around have that effect on them. To where if you move even the player,
Yeah.
when you move the player, it is not a black square moving, it is kind of like a cutout moving over this like dot expanse.
Yeah.
That is maybe the single hardest thing I've ever done in game dev ever, because I couldn't do it in normal C# like a regular human being. I had to do it in Unity shader graph. So there was about 4 iterations to me dealing with this problem, which took about a week to figure out, by the way. The first step was, okay, I can't just stick the texture raw on the thing, because then it wouldn't move properly. Cool. So let's make a shader, and let's say that the position that should be shown on the block, or whatever it is, the game object, should be the position of the texture should equal the game object's position in real space. You're almost there.
I tried pushing a little yellow block over, but I couldn't.
You can't push that one though.
Yeah.
The actual, all of the brief sidebar, all of the movable objects have those little wheels on the bottom. That idea came from a playtester. He was just like, why don't you put wheels on it? And I was like, that's the most genius thing I've ever heard ever.
Because I'm curious if this mechanic is a thing. Can you shift while you're in the air?
You can, but your physics doesn't stop moving, and you also don't need that.
I'm just curious if you could use it to jump quickly.
Mhm.
I mean, I know you can do that, but if you
That would be quite something, I must say.
Alright.
So, back to my point. Originally,
Mhm.
it was okay. The position on the texture to be displayed is the thing's point in space, and that worked, kind of, because the problem is the camera is not fixed. However, the dots are fixed. So what I mean by that is on the scale, you see the dots, like for example, you see on this yellow. Can you pull it to that for a
Sorry,
second?
I'm
No, you're good.
excited.
On this yellow, and you see how the white little holes in the yellow
Sure.
are where you see where they are?
Yep.
Press Z. They're in the same spot.
Yes.
But they're not in the same spot relative to the camera or the world position. They're in the same spot relative to that little window in the slide.
Right. Wow.
So how do you do that? Okay,
Beats me.
well, let's say all we need to do, that is a known bug. I don't really know.
Oh, the bot bar.
Yeah, it just kind of gets offset. I made the thing in a month. I tried looking.
You're fine. I think
I tried looking back over my code. Wow!
How much did you look at it and go, I don't remember half of this?
I had no idea
Yep.
what was happening.
That's game jam
I
code.
was completely lost. And it was this is one of the longer game jams I've done, and it was still a mess.
Yeah.
Point is, okay, so we have this zoomed out world and the zoomed in world.
Yep.
Okay, well, if we figure out the ratio from the zoomed in camera to the zoomed out camera, when we're zoomed out, we can just multiply the screen positions by that ratio and then shift them up and to the right so that it works. Okay, that kind of works, except for 2 problems. One, that means that there can only be 1 camera size. And 2, how do you tell Unity shader graph that you're zoomed out? Well, you do it through the Z value of the camera. Because Unity is a 3D engine, even though this is in 2D.
Yep.
So every time you transition the cameras, it's Cinemachine cameras, so it's not, the main camera is the same, it's just as it moves between the virtual cameras, it kind of modulates all of the data on it. Every time you move, when you're on the zoomed out camera, you go back like an extra 5 units in the Z direction for some arbitrary number. Okay, cool. So now we have it so that right, but the problem there is that since it's a fixed ratio, we don't know.
I'm listening, but I'm also watching the spatial.
Aaron is rest.
I really enjoyed this, but my brain does not work in this spatial area. I can tell you, obviously, you have such good like spatial awareness, color awareness for me, A, and then B, technically, I have no idea what you're saying. It sounds baller.
However, I will say this is one of my favorite game ideas I've done.
It's fantastic.
Because when I did it, I showed it to my dad, and he said, "You don't have to explain this to me. I understand." And that is the first time that's happened in 3 years.
That's awesome.
That doesn't happen. So, okay. And you fit that's the whole game.
I did it! That was so fun!
Congratulations.
Congrats on making it. That was
Thank you.
fantastic. I thoroughly
So,
enjoyed that.
so now we're on solution 3 of this problem of getting these dots aligned.
Right.
Okay. Problem. It is not one same sized camera as you go through levels. Every new level you do, each new level you encounter has a slightly different camera size because I just need to present different things.
Yep.
So between this one and this one, it zooms out, which is really easy to do in Cinemachine. But now the problem is that fixed ratio that I could just multiply by doesn't work anymore because it's not a fixed ratio. Okay, so now we just need to get the ratio between the current camera and the zoomed out camera into Unity Shader Graph. Question: how do you get that into Unity Shader Graph? Answer: whatever a far clip plane is.
Oh yeah.
I have no idea what that does.
Oh, thank God. I
Clipping
thought I was
planes?
alone.
Huh?
Oh, we can talk clipping
I
planes
have
after.
no idea what that does.
You can talk clipping
But
planes.
by default, it's set to 1,000.
Yep.
So what I did is just whichever camera you're on, it adds the size of the camera to it. So this one, I'm pretty sure it's 14 by 14. This far clip plane is 10,014. And then in the shader graph, it takes that value and divides it, and then it has to decide whether or not it's giving
Value.
the- Huh?
Value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes
You're
that.
playing chess versus checkers.
It takes that value, divides it, and then multiplies it and moves it up. And the result is nothing happening on the screen, and it looks like nothing's happening. And it took a week and a half. It's
A week and a half to make it look like you did nothing.
exactly. That's
Yeah.
those are always the
The more
hardest
the more
ones.
invisible the work, the better you did,
Mhm.
right?
So yeah, that's
Fantastic. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed that. I thought that was awesome.
thank you.
That was really fun and clever. And is there anything you're gonna go? Are you gonna do anything next with this? Is this a finished project, which is a totally okay answer? Is there any more or?
Right now, I'm working on redoing one of my other older Game Jam games. But as I said, the idea was to have the colors kind of intertwine with each other. That's why I chose it's the CMYK. It's
Yeah.
printers, so
Yep.
that you can do the additive mixing and make all of the colors. The idea was okay, maybe you're in a level and you have to there's a green platform
Oh, right.
and you only have
Yellow.
red, yellow, and blue. Okay, now you have to make the green one.
That is.
But then there's a darker green, so you have to work through it. So maybe one day I'll do that. But then again, I'm very happy with how this turned out. I think of all of my Game Jam ideas, this is of all of my game ideas ever. This is one of the most fully explored that I've ever done. There's not all that much that I could do left with how it is right now. I could add a whole bunch, but then again, it's not really the same thing.
That's fantastic. I wonder if this is the same as what challenges you overcame, but is there something you're most proud of with this project that you'd like to share?
Getting these dots to line up.
Yes.
I cannot tell you.
Now that I know how much math, which
headache
makes me shudder,
it
puts
was.
into that, that's
So the second problem with Unity Shader Graph is not only can you not, it's hard to get things in without being like a caveman and modifying the camera's far clip plane, you can't debug at all. Because Unity Shader Graph is like, oh, okay, I have this like Perlin noise texture. Let me apply it to this brick texture and make it look cool. Not, okay, what's 1.67 divided by 10? Like, that's not what it's for. So there was like a day or two where I tried going on Reddit to like implement my own like debug shader node. That didn't work. So yeah, other big achievements are, if you notice, so that's because as you can think of the texture is being scaled down.
Right.
So right now the texture is only fitting in the middle part of the screen.
Right.
That's what happened here. So if I do this is what that's what the edge of the texture looks like.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's just the last pixels on the edge, they just stretch it to the end.
Got
I don't
it.
know why it's not white or like alpha. That's just what they do. So the way to
It's a
work
mask.
around that is there's on this left, like on the camera to the left here, there is a block. Remember this oh, that block right there. If you notice, it disappears. Now, hopefully you shouldn't be able to notice it disappearing because it waits the length of the camera transition time to disappear, but it disappears so that it is not showing on the side there,
Right.
because then it would just be these like slanted dots and it would look really ugly. Now the question is, why would it disappear? Why not just use something to cover it up? Here's the problem. If you think about the layers of what's happening on the game, you have the gameplay and stuff like this, and then you have these slider things that are going like this. Now, when the camera comes out, ideally, everything that is not in the middle here is covered. So I had like an apron, is what I call it. It was just a bunch of white squares that was like that. But the problem is, this thing, the sliders, need to be under the objects, but over the apron. Which means it would have to bend down, like below the stuff, which is not something you can do. Or, not something I figured out how to do. So I went the other way and said, okay, instead of covering up, I will just have it all disappear. So pretty much everything in the game is assigned a Cinemachine virtual camera. And if that camera is active, it is being displayed, and if it's not, it's not. So you can see that. Now, here's a fun thing for you when we get to the later levels. These little wheels on the bottom were an afterthought. So, because of that, here we go. It looks so different on the big screen. Oh, also shout out to my brother for helping with the music.
It's very cool. It's great.
Thank you. So it's like one 16-bar loop that's looping, except it's cut into fourths, and whenever you like transition into like between a level, it will move you up wherever you are. So that's the idea, is that music transitions a little bit smoother. So notice, look at the bottom left corner. Those little circles,
The wheels.
those are the wheels, because they're not assigned properly to the cameras because I didn't have the time.
You'll
So
get there.
they're there.
Yeah.
They're there. They're just being turned. You see that? They get
Yeah.
turned back on.
Yeah.
Also, when you zoom in, you see that flickering that's happening? That's because of the Z values. Because, fun fact, 2D cameras in Unity, for some reason, need that Z value to be just a certain way. So if you keep moving the Z value back and forth, things will literally disappear. So you know what's happening? Everything in the game is being moved back and forth with the camera with a very, very flashy and complicated component called Z-value script that just hard code assigns the Z-value of everything to the current camera Z-value. And those are the big ones.
Awesome.
Those are the big ones, yeah.
Well, I'll give you a lot of credit. You explain it in very everyday person terms for someone who loves playing video games but has no idea how to make them. So
Thank you.
That's fantastic. And yeah, is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
browser. Check me out. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you guys so much for having me on.
And you'll be at Edge tomorrow to show
I will be at Edge tomorrow, Saturday at
Yes.
11 to 3?
Yes.
4?
4. Yep.
11 to 4.
Yep.
5 hours? It's 4. 5 hours. 5 whole hours.
And then
I'll
an
be out
awards ceremony from 5 to 6.
there. I can't remember if I submitted.
It's not a problem.
Figure it out.
It's not a strict thing, but anyway. All right,
But yeah,
guys.
cool.
Thanks for
Thanks so
watching.
much for watching. Toodaloo.